this is a very fun and different video because normally when I do videos like this, I always do audio, I do accessories, screen protectors, you name it. But I have never done a tablet video, let alone an Android tablet video, and I want to thank Oro for coming on to my channel and being a part of today's episode. And I want to get that out of the way because this is a very huge milestone for me. I want to thank them for partnering up, and they've got on the show today a brand new tablet for your consideration. I will be honest and detailed. They don't have a say. They don't have any affiliation to this video. I am just giving them my expressed gratitude and appreciation for working with my channel. But this one is a very interesting because even though it is my first tablet video, I've got a lot of things to say and we're gonna get right to it. I have never been a big Android tablet user. I am obviously iPad, but I respect what Android's makers are trying to do with tablets nowadays. And the Oro 10.1-inch tablet is a tablet that does have some very good features and does have somewhat a decent value, but I'm having a very hard time trying to figure out if I can recommend this to the masses. And I'll explain at the end of the video. But before I get to anything, before I get to any of these negatives, let me start with the positives. The first positive I want to talk about with the tablet is the build quality. Now, the product retails for around $100, but is currently on sale for $72. And holding the tablet in your hand and the build quality right out of the gate is actually very premium. It has a nice aluminum build. It has a full glass front. You have this camera right in the front. You also have the rear camera in the back. The rear camera is a 8-megapixel lens and the front camera is a 5-megapixel lens. Now, again, that is something to be expected with these lower end tablets, these entry-level tablets, and it is to be expected. The screen resolution is around a 720 display. Some reports suggest 1080p, but I find that 720 is the most honest way of describing this display, which we'll get to after. It does have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, so battery life has been pretty promising so far. I've only ever had to recharge this usually every 2 days. So that's with light use. With heavy use, obviously you have to recharge, but with light use, about 2 days worth of surf webbing, watching videos, music. On the bottom, it does have dual stereo speakers, which is again another positive. I do appreciate that they do give you dual speakers. On the side here is where you have your controls. We have a USB-C port here. This is an SD card slot, so it is nice to know that you can expand the memory if you want to expand more. We also have the volume up and down rockers as well as the power button. And surprisingly, at the very end of this corner is a headphone jack, which is something that is pretty much long gone nowadays in the tech world. So when it comes to the biggest positive, it's the build quality and the feature of a headphone jack. That is a positive. When it comes to the user interface, it is of course rocking Android 15, although there are reports saying that it should be getting Android 16, so I will be on the lookout for that update. The user interface is using what they call the AMI AI OS, which essentially is their version of Android 15 mapped. They have a cloud frame, they have the Play Store, you've got Google Meets. You have everything here that is essentially what you would see on an Android phone or if you have an Android in general. Now, in terms of the ratio with the tablet, it only turns, for whatever reason, it only is locked in this position. It doesn't turn horizontal. I've tried everything. Maybe it's just one of my features that are toggled on, but I'm not gonna hold that as a negative because it's probably just me not being able to figure this thing out. But with that being said though, the controls are pretty simple and intuitive, and when it comes to the quality, when you're watching videos and music, it actually does a really decent job. You can watch all your videos, you can listen to your music. There is no built-in DAC, so of course you are going to need to use a converter if you want high-res audio, but we'll get to that in just a few moments. And then the biggest tout that this thing is claiming is that the internals come with 20 gigabytes of smart cloud storage as well as 4 gigabytes of onboard RAM. So in total that should equal 24 gigs, but don't let the marketing fool you. The smart cloud storage is essentially just AI cloud storage used to offload the apps, which helps to improve the performance, but realistically it's using 4 gigabytes of RAM. To be fair, the iPads do come with 4 gigabytes of RAM, but they're there is a big difference, which we'll talk about. But with that being said though, it gives you 120 gigabytes of storage. And again, you can expand that storage. So all in all, when it comes to the value and when it comes to everything, it is off to a very good start. But that's where we run into a lot, and I mean a lot of things that need to be discussed. First of all, I'm gonna just say this. I do not like the performance of this tablet. This is just coming from a guy who uses the iPad mini, the standard iPad, the iPad Pro, and have used even Windows tablets. This is not it. Now, to be fair, it does do your everyday tasks like normal. It does exactly what a normal tablet would do. The biggest problem is multitasking, and that comes, of course, with the limited amount of RAM, but even the display and the actual frame rates on the display. Now, normally I wouldn't care about this stuff, but it is super laggy. And it is such a shame because even just general scrolling will feel like there's like a 1 or 2 second delay. And sometimes if you're not actually careful, it will actually crash and offload the app, and then you gotta go back in and reload it. The other negative that I've been noticing is the actual sound quality. While it is great that they have stereo speakers and they do a decent job, they're not as loud as I would have liked them to be. I wasn't expecting them to be super loud, but even at full volume, it sounds like mid, and it does have a big enough range at the bottom to at least put a mini amp, or at the very least, make the speakers a little bit wider. So I was a little disappointed with the range of the volume. It sounds very hollow. It doesn't sound very full, but the other negative that I have, in my opinion, is they're touting this 64-bit octa-core A55 chip, which is basically the CPU. It claims it's supposed to be a powerhouse. It claims it's supposed to do all these things, but when we get down to the benchmark scores, that is where I'll let you be the judge of that. And even when trying to play games and other things on this thing, it is a challenge. And that is where I get to the part here where I am struggling, because this is the part of the video where I would say, I don't recommend this product, you should not buy it, I think you can get better. Here's the problem. That was the 18, 19-year-old me. The 25-year-old me is a lot different and understands that there are different needs and different things. Now, I won't say that I don't recommend this product. For 70 bucks, you're really not losing a lot of money. For $70, you're getting exactly what it is being advertised. It's a basic Android tablet that can do the basics, has good quality. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's cheap. It has very good quality here. There is great build. There is potential here. I just think that the biggest issue is, how are you going to convince people that have Samsung tablets, Google tablets, and other manufacturers, people that aren't even in the Apple range? I'm not even acknowledging Apple users, because you know and I know Apple users are not gonna switch. How are you gonna convince people to buy this tablet? And then I thought about it, and I said, well, there is two ways. There are two ways that I can definitely see this being recommended. And the two areas that I can definitely see this being recommended is selling this to the older generation, meaning people that are retired, that don't care about the latest, they don't care about it. They want something affordable and has good value. And also to children, those that you don't want them to get into Apple products or sophisticated stuff. You want something that's a little bit more easier to control, because this does have very good parental control setups, and considering it's an Android operating system, they're not really gonna be missing out on much. And I thought about it long and hard, and to be honest, that is kind of where I recommend this, because I don't know if I can sit here and say I can recommend this to the everyday person. And the reason why I say that is because we've seen what most tablets can do for this price range, or even close. Now, of course, if you are on a budget, obviously it's something to look at, but if you look closely, you could find refurbished tablets, year old, 2 years old. You could find Android tablets that are somewhere in this ballpark of range. So it does come with a lot of struggle. But if you are somebody who is retired, you don't care about the latest, and you have kids and want them to be entertained, and you don't really care about breaking the bank, and you want something that's easy, then I definitely recommend this, because that's kind of what I feel this is made for those types of consumers, for that kind of market. Because there is a lot here. There's absolutely a lot. This tablet does offer something. It's just very hard for me to really say if I can recommend this to the everyday person when we've seen what's going on out there. But I will say, I think there is a lot of promise here. I think that this bad boy does have a lot of promise. I think that if they work on this, if they release an updated version, not even an updated display or anything, updated internals, more RAM, maybe partner with Snapdragon, just saying. And more importantly, the $100 range seems to be fine. I don't see no problem with the price, even if it was $100. I think for $70, it's a better bargain. It's definitely a lot better to recommend at $70, but I will say, I think that there's a lot that needs to be done here. And I definitely would like to continue to see if this progresses. But overall, if you're someone that needs a multitasking heavy-duty tablet, this ain't for you. But if you want something simple, you want something easy that you can just listen to music, read your books, watch videos, podcasts, the bare minimum, then definitely give this a look. Because honestly, for 70 bucks, you're not losing a lot of money. And you do get some very good value here.